Let's rattle off the match week 2 predictions. Again, 10 games, and that means all 20 teams are playing this weekend. Now, West Ham versus Chelsea already happened. It was live watch along on here, in fact, where I predicted a 2-0 win for Chelsea. Obviously, it wasn't. It was 5-1 to Chelsea. But at least I got the winner right. And if you don't believe me, watch the stream back. I'm not telling you where it is. You have to watch the whole thing. Have fun. Onto the TNT Sports slot, Saturday at 12:30, with a huge game as Man City host Spurs. City have injuries for Mateo Kovacic, Joško Gvardiol, Savinho, Claudio Echeverri, Marcus Bettinelli and Calvin Phillips. However, he has some boosts as Phil Foden, Rodri and Ederson are all probably back. It's possible City could go with the same 11 as Saturday, but I think some changes are coming. Ederson may well come back in for James Trafford, while Matthias Nunes could replace Rico Lewis, and either Phil Foden or Ryan Cherki might even come in for Bob. Tottenham are without James Maddison, Radu Dragoshin, Dejan Kulusevski and Mano Solomon, and it's quite possibly too early for Destiny Adoge. Yves Bissouma has picked up a new injury, while Brian Hill and Kota Takai are also out. It's possible Spurs could go more defensive, and I've given them a 3-5-2, with Kevin Danso as an additional defender, Joao Paulinho and Rodrigo Bentancur in for Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall, and Danso's inclusion meaning no space for Brennan Johnson. Both these teams have had promising starts, with City winning 4-0 away to Wolves, and Spurs drawing the Super Cup with PSG 2-all before losing on penalties, and then winning 3-0 at home to Burnley. Spurs have been a bogey team for City thanks to the former's penchant for keeping it tight and then hitting the citizens on the break. But Man City have moved to a more direct style of play, as we saw against Wolves when Tijani Reinders came forward and went on mazy runs. Spurs do have the players in Mohamed Kudus and Richarlison to punish City if they do overcommit, so they have to be careful. It feels like the first time both these teams are actually tested after easy wins in match week 1. I'll go with a high-scoring, entertaining game that finishes in a 2-all draw. On to the 3 p.m. games with Bournemouth hosting Wolves. Bournemouth are definitely without Enes Unal and Lewis Cook, while Justin Kluivert is a doubt, but Ryan Christie could return in time. It's possible that they could go with the same 11 used against Liverpool. Maybe Amin Adli and Ben Doak will challenge Harry Brooks, and Ronald Araujo compete with Adam Smith, but I doubt he'll change things from Friday. Wolves are without long-term absentee Leon Chiwome, but otherwise fine. After only being ready to come off the bench on Saturday, Fer Lopez and John Arias should be able to start ahead of Marshall Menezzi and Jean-Rickner Bellegarde, but it's not guaranteed. Kiana Hova will probably still be in ahead of Jackson Chachua. Both these teams lost to title challengers, but the manner felt very different. Bournemouth were battling in a 4-2 defeat away to Liverpool, but Wolves were thrashed 4-0 at home to City. Bournemouth looked really strong despite losing at Anfield, and you get the feeling it'll be a long season for Wolves. Their defence wasn't awful, but was carved open, and though the Cherries aren't quite Manchester City, in Antoine Semenyo they have a player of real quality, while the others, such as David Brooks and Evan Nilsson, are no mugs either. I think they'll get the job done. 2-0 home win. Brentford host Aston Villa. Johan Wissa was exiled from the B squad. He might come back, while Vitaly Janelt and Gustavo Nunes are also out. Paris Magona and Yunus Emre Konak are doubts, while Ethan Pinnock should be back from injury, as should Mikael Damsgaard from paternity leave. Jordan Henderson could come in for Matthias Jensen, or indeed Yahoya Moliak, while Damsgaard should replace Anthony Milambo. Kevin Schade is fitter than last week and could feature from the start instead of Keane Lewis Potter, with new signing Dango Ouattara also an option in attack. Esri Konsa is suspended for Villa, while Andres Garcia is out, and Ross Barkley is still regaining match fitness. Emiliano Martinez returns from suspension and should start over Marco Bizzo. Boubacar Kamara may drop into defence for Konsa, with Yuri Tielemans taking more central position. This would lead to Morgan Rogers dropping into the hole, granting a start to Daniel Marlon. However, I think he will switch to a top 3 with Pau Torres and Lamar Bogard as centre-backs, with Tielemans and Kamara as 8s and Rogers and John McGinn behind Ollie Watkins. Brentford lost their opener 3-1 away to Forest, while Villa drew 0-0 at home to Newcastle. I think Brentford could be in trouble here. They were worryingly open at the East Midlands, and Aston Villa are a team that has the quality to open them up. They're on the back foot against Newcastle, but they have the chance to attack, and I think they will take it. I've been predicting a fair few 2-0, so let's keep it going and give that scoreline as an away win. Burnley take on Sunderland at Turf Moor. The Clarets are without Jordan Beyer, Connor Roberts, Zeki Amdouni and Manuel Benson, while Amanda Broya, Axel Twanzebe, Bashir Humphreys and Zian Fleming are doubts. Read out in descending order of their chances of featuring. Burnley will probably be bolder and switch to a back four with Kyle Walker at right back, meaning no room for Oliver Sonner. Josh Laurent may be switched for new signing Leslie Ogachukwu, with Marcus Edwards taking the extra attacking role. Sunderland miss Romain Mundell, Leo Hjelde, Luke O'Neill, Dennis Sirkin and Aji Alese. New signings Arthur Masuaku and Nordi Mukiele could feature, while Jensen Selt is fine after coming off in the last game, and whether I still think Omar Alderete will start over him as their only change. Both these teams were on either end of 3-0s. Burnley lost away to Spurs while Sunderland won at home to West Ham. But don't let that fool you. Few teams were as awful as the Irons, while Tottenham were fantastic. In fact, Burnley had some good moments on their trip to the capital, and Sunderland's victory was bolstered by some shocking goalkeeping. Their high pressure, though, did shell-shock West Ham, but I think Burnley will be fit and raring to go in front of their home fans. I think we'll see a different Burnley, one that, while not well beating, can surely go toe-to-toe with Sunderland at the least. I don't think it'll be the highest quality affair, neither team's attack convinces me, so I'll go with a 1-1 draw. The half-5 Sky Sports game is Arsenal versus Leeds. Gabriel Jesus, Christian Nørgaard and Kai Havertz missed this one, but Ben White could be able to feature despite picking something up against United. With no White, Timber may start at right back, while Noni Madueke or Leandro Trossard might start ahead of Gabriel Martinelli. I expect Ricardo Calafiori to keep his place ahead of Miles Lewis-Skelly. Leeds are without Ethan Ampadu and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and Sebastian Bornau still needs to return to fitness. With no Ampadu, Ilya Gruev will probably fill the gap, with Sean Longstaff another option. Jakob Biel also returns from suspension, but I don't expect him to play. Both these teams won 1-0 in Week 1, with Arsenal beating United away and Leeds winning at home to Everton. This is a game where Victor Gyökeres will need to shine, and I think he will against a more positive and open Leeds. Arsenal will need to get the final ball to him right, but I think they'll break open the Whites and take a comfortable 3-0 win. On to Sunday, and the first 2 p.m. game on Sky Sports is Crystal Palace against Forest. This game was moved because of Palace's Conference League game against Fredrikstad in the first leg of the playoff. In that game, a strong Eagles side won 1-0 with a goal from Jean-Philippe Mateta. Palace are without Chadi Riyad, Cheick Doucouré, Eddie Nketiah, Matthias França and Caleb Korha, with Daichi Kamada also touch and go at best. Compared to Palace's last Prem game against Chelsea, there were 2 changes on Thursday, with the most notable being Eberechi Eze, whose transfer is imminent, being replaced by Justin Devaney. Expect that one to stick. Another option for Eze is Odsonne Edouard. Forest have no new issues, except for long-term miss Nicolas Dominguez. They have made a lot of business, but it's unlikely that players will instantly be used, especially as they were so good in the first match against Brentford. I expect no changes. Both of these teams have made a positive start to the season. A 2-2 draw in the Community Shield, followed by a penalties win over Liverpool, was followed by a 0-0 draw away to Chelsea, and then that win over Fredrikstad in the Conference League. For Forest, just one game, with that being a very impressive 3-1 win at home to Brentford. I think this is a horrible time for Eze to leave, as Forest have been more positive than usual, and Palace could do with him on the break. The Eagles will definitely be blunted, but they're still a good side. I can see it being a bit tentative then, with Palace hoping to get the ball to Mateta and Forest relying on Wood. Forest are, in my view, the better side, but as it's in South London, I reckon I'll go with a 1-1 draw. The regular 2 p.m. game on Sky Sports is Everton against Brighton, of course the first game at Hill Dickinson Stadium. Everton are without Jared Branthwaite, Vitaly Michalenko and Nathan Patterson. It's unclear whether Adam Asnu is back, and that could mean a change in shape to a back three, with Dwight McNeil being used as a wing-back, meaning no space for Timur Egbenam. I also think that Jack Grealish is now ready to start ahead of Carlos Alcaraz, but Beto probably still gets ahead of Tierno Barry. For Brighton, Adam Webster, Solly March and Julio Enciso are out. Tom Watson is returning to fitness, while Jack Hinchelwood should be fit. I think there'll be no changes, with Yankuba Minte perhaps the most likely to be swapped for either Brahan Gruder or Ferdi Kadiolu. So the first new stadium for an incumbent Premier League team in a good few years. But what about the match itself? Well, Everton lost their opener 1-0 away to Leeds, while Brighton drew 1-1 at home to Fulham. I think there may be more frustration for the Seagulls against a team they're better than on paper. They lack the firepower to get the finishing touch, and despite being peppered by Leeds, it was only a lucky and controversial penalty that cost Everton a clean sheet. I think more of the same here, and Everton may look better going forward when Grealish is used from the start. Therefore, I'll go with another 1-1 draw for Brighton. The 4:30 match on Sky Sports sees Fulham host Man United. Ryan Sessegnon still has a knock, while Anthony Robinson is returning to fitness for the host. If Sessegnon is fit, he should start, meaning Calvin Bassey has moved back centrally, replacing Jorge Suenza. Rodrigo Muniz's goal means he could start over Raul Jimenez, while Emil Smith-Rowe will want to get his place back from Josh King. For United, both Lisandro Martinez and Nocer Mazraoui are out. Amad Diallo might come in for Diogo Dalot, while Benjamin Šeško is ready to start, meaning Brian Mbeumo will be pushed back, replacing Mason Mount. Fulham drew their opener 1-1 away to Brighton, while United lost 1-0 at home to Arsenal. Despite this, the Red Devils came away with more credit, and I think it will be a morale-boosting away victory. They have their full new attack of Mbeumo, Šeško and Mateus Cunha ready now, and that's a good sign. Fulham will make it tough, but I think United find a 2-1 win.
Finally, the Monday 8 p.m. game on Sky Sports, Newcastle host Liverpool. The Magpies have still put Alexander Isak in exile, while Joe Willock looks close to a return to fitness. I don't expect changes against Liverpool, with perhaps Jacob Murphy in for Harvey Barnes if one does occur. Liverpool themselves are without Jeremy Frimpong, while Conor Bradley is returning to fitness. Ryan Gravenberch is back from suspension. I imagine Gravenberch will come in, with midfielder Dominic Szoboszlai providing cover at right back instead of Frimpong. Alternatively, Curtis Jones or Wataru Endo could play there too. So, the Isak derby. Newcastle might find it easier to attack 11 Liverpool players than 10 Villa ones, because Arne Slot's men won't sit back, but Liverpool's firepower is so great that it might not matter. I reckon it will be an exciting end-to-end game. Let's predict a 2-2.
Well, how exciting. Here they all are on the screen together. A lot of 1-1 draws and a couple of 2-0s there. But overall, I think in the title race, City and Liverpool have tougher games, which just means that Arsenal's is more of a must-win. I did get West Ham losing right, obviously. I think not many people would have predicted the correct score of 5-1, but to be fair, West Ham did concede 3 goals from corners. So if you factor that out, it's not too bad. Tell me what you think. Tell me where I'm right. Tell me where I'm wrong. We'll find out over the weekend anyway. And most of all, enjoy your weekend. How great it is to have regular Premier League football back. Thank you for watching.